it's always flip-flop for people thinking that I have all the answers and the keys and the guidance, that I'm going to be able to magically make this life that they want or desires happen for them. But I'm literally like holding their hand and empowering them to do the hard work that most people don't do, which
Welcome everybody to Unleash Your Greatness. I'm Adam Platt, and today I have my guest speaker, a coach. Her name is Karlee Welder. She is a spiritual coach as well as a nutritionist, and she has her whole business is digital, and she has many clients that have a special name for her. I'm going to let her tell that name when I bring her on because it's awesome and fun. But yeah, so Karlee, welcome to the show. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you. I'm excited. This is awesome.
So, tell me. So, what do your clients call you? Let's hear the.
No bullshit, coach.
That's awesome. So you must be one of those coaches that's just like, hey, I'm not going to put up with your crap. I'm not going to put up with all your reasons why you can't do what I'm telling you to do or have the life that you want. Is kind of why I'm assuming they give you that nickname. So
Totally. I don't mess around.
Awesome.
Straight to the point.
I think that a coach, and we're gonna obviously dive into your story and how you got into the coaching business and why you do what you do. But I think a coach is supposed to be somewhat of a cheerleader and say, you can do it, you can do it. But they also have to be a little bit of tough love and say, you're making excuses. You need to stop doing that. So I love the fact that you have that mentality about how to coach people. So that's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
So I know you probably didn't wake up one day and just be like, I'm going to be this spiritual coach and I'm going to intertwine nutrition in there. Excuse me. So how did you get into the coaching business? What's your story? Let's hear the backstory of Karlee Welder.
Okay. You want from like the very beginning or like
wherever the most important, I guess, part that plays into your story is. Yeah.
Okay.
And I know there's levels, right? And we all have those.
I know, right? I'm like, where do I start? I think the most important thing for people that can really take a good message from my experience, and I'll kind of like fast forward, I'll just do like the middle part or the beginning, and then I'll fast forward, really is how I spent so much of, almost a decade, all of my 20s, really feeling so much pressure from society and the way they programmed us, like very Western culture society that, we had to go to post-secondary school. We had to have the family, the husband, the kids, the work the 9 to 5, the 40, that kind of mentality that's really been ingrained in us over the years. And I felt so much pressure to do that. And I felt judged and constantly compared myself to so many other people because I didn't follow that traditional path. And I was a waitress and a bartender for most of my years because I loved traveling. And so I traveled in between doing all of that. And it paid more, which is ironic, than most of my friends that have degrees that were struggling to survive. And I was actually getting all these life experiences, enjoying my life, finding myself. All these people were struggling to pay for their mortgages and like never going on vacations ever, like barely ever. It's sad, like just no time for themselves really.
Yeah.
So fast forward, I did my diploma in holistic nutrition, which most people think, when they think of holistic nutrition, they think of just, I'm a nutritionist. But the way holistic nutrition is, holistic is mind, body, spirit. So all of those intertwine to really create optimal health for you, right?
Right.
and being able to heal yourself through all holistic practices instead of using traditional methods like prescriptions and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So being able to assess people like that. So what I did was, again, I didn't know what to do with it, and there was no options in my town. This was 7 years ago, or probably 8 now when I did that,
Mm.
when I went to school, and the only option was to work at a health food store for the minimum wage.
Wow.
And of course, why would I do that when I can be a server and make way more money than that? And how is it ever going to get ahead making minimum wage, right?
Right.
Most people can't.
Sure.
So I continued to serve, and I continued to feel pressure that I needed to do something to get out of serving because, again, society has put this label on being a waitress, bartender, whatever, that it's not considered a career and it's not, right? So I felt that pressure over the years. So I got into the online space 3 years ago, and I started doing affiliate marketing. I got introduced through it with one of my ex-boyfriends, and I spent a lot of time and energy and money on it. And I didn't see the results I wanted. And I finally had what I like to call my aha moment, or you know what I mean? Those moments you have in
Yeah.
life,
Yep.
epiphanies, I don't know.
Sure.
That again, I was too focused on trying to make money so I could get out of serving, where I wasn't even listening to myself and what I'm truly passionate about and what lights up my soul is health and wellness. So I took the skills from affiliate marketing and being in the online space to be like, sweet, now I can actually launch and grow my own holistic business online. And the reason why, of course, I want a digital business is because I love traveling and I want the freedom of it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of just evolved into that. So I started originally doing more nutrition inside of stuff because that was more so my background. And, the more I grew and the more I raised my consciousness level and raised my frequency and listened to my intuition, that I started receiving messages and guidance really from my intuition and from the energy around me, that I needed to step more into a space and help people really empower themselves to break through all this conditioning programming, that they really are capable of achieving anything they want in their lives,
Wow.
and to really pull it out of these people and to help guide them into using their intuition, and you could say spirituality, whatever. There's so many terms for it,
Sure.
sort of thing,
Yep.
to really live a conscious lifestyle so they can feel fulfilled. And it kind of came in a perfect timing with COVID and everything going on, that a lot of people now have been spending more time with themselves without even realizing it. You know what I mean? Because there's not much to do anymore, right?
Right.
So they're at home and they're having all these awakening symptoms, and they're like, I don't even know what's going on. I feel like almost like there's a puzzle piece missing out of my life, even though I feel like everything in my life is great. And most of these people at lives, they feel like there's enough there for them, but they feel like there's always something missing.
Mm.
And that's traditionally what missing is. They don't feel like they have a purpose, and or they're not in alignment with their soul.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So, man, there's so many things to bring up and talk about there.
You know.
And but it's great because that journey is I think so common for so many people. Like you were saying, we have this this programming that you are a kid, you go to school, you graduate from high school, you go to college, you get a job, you pay the mortgage for 30 years, and then you die, right? Like that's
Right.
that's kind of the programming, right? And
Yeah.
it's really kind of sad because so many people have these dreams and these goals to travel and do all these amazing things, to start their own business or whatever, but that conditioning that we have in society has limited us in our view or our perspective of what is possible. And I've felt that in my life myself, where uh, I've seen it. Again, my dad was a postal worker growing up, and he did it for 25 whatever years. And so I figured that's what I would do. Like, not a postal worker, but I would graduate, get a job, work at it for 30, 40 years, and then retire and I don't know, hopefully travel. But by that time you're usually old and you don't feel good and you're
Right.
all these things. And that's kind of like the common thing. And it's really sad that we have that culture
Yeah.
that promotes that type of lifestyle. And so I love that you broke that mold. And
Mhm.
you did, and like you said, there's this stigma around waitressing or bartending or whatever, but that allowed you the flexibility to live the life that you wanted to.
Yeah.
And even though people were like, you need to get a real job, right? Like,
Yeah.
and you're like, well, why? Like, you've got a real job and you're stressed out every month about how you're going to make the house payment, right? Like, um,
Totally.
and so it's kind of interesting. So I love the fact that you're breaking that mold and you're helping people as well break that mold in their life, because that is such a common mindset that people have. And
Mhm.
and I love the fact that you put yourself out there, that you travel. And I don't know where you're at like right now. Like, are you somewhere exotic right now? Or are you
No, I
traveling about?
wish not with COVID. I
Yeah,
can't travel right now.
it's shut a lot of people down from traveling right now.
I know.
But I talked to a lady a while ago who ended up going to New Zealand right before COVID shut everything down, and she's been in New Zealand ever since. She's a traveler, travels the world usually, and she's like, there's a lot of worse places I could be stuck than New Zealand.
Right?
So, uh,
Uh,
but
uh,
just having that lifestyle is absolutely amazing. And so, let's get a little bit into how you help people kind of break that mindset of you've got to follow this tradition of working a 9 to 5 job and all this conditioning that we've been through. How do you break
mhm.
people from that? How do you get people? And I'm assuming that's why most people come to you for coaching is, how do I build a life that I really love and want, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So how do you break that? How do you get people to see the bigger picture in that lifestyle?
Yeah. So when it comes down to it, it's a lot of work that they have to do on their end,
Yeah, sure.
which it's always flip-flop for people thinking that I have all the answers and the keys and the guidance that I'm going to be able to magically make this life that they want or desires happen for them. But I'm literally like holding their hand and empowering them to do the hard work that most people don't do, which is the personal growth, the inner healing, the self discovery, the self love. Most people don't love themselves these days anymore. That's
Sure.
huge, huge factor in a lot of things, and it affects everything in your life, right? So, on that note, is kind of, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, that makes sense. Yeah. So it's pretty the main. I mean, I have pillars inside of my coaching business that I go through, but that is probably the main thing that would really makes people break through, I
Gotcha.
would say.
Awesome.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. And so I also love that you have this holistic approach to it, right? Um, because you're right, the mind, body, and spirit all need to play together in order for us to feel fulfilled, I believe, in our life. And so
Hmm.
the fact that you've taken your training that you received in the holistic nutrition area, and
Hmm.
you've intertwined that within your coaching to help people understand that, because I think that a lot of people think that it is all just about either mindset, or I just need to exercise, or I just need to, like, they're missing components of it,
Yeah.
right? And it is this overall encompassing thing that people need to work on and focus instead of just one thing. So I know that
Hmm.
when I have felt the best of my life is when I am very conscious of all three of those areas for sure. So,
Exactly. Being conscious is important.
yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. I agree. And that self evaluation of where I'm at, where do I want to go, and what do I want to accomplish is also another component of that. That's at least myself being an achievement coach. That's what I teach people, like, get it clear on what you want in life. And then let's come up with a plan of what you need to do to get there. And
Exactly.
And I also like the fact that you said that a lot of people expect you to just create this life for them.
Yes.
I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about coaching is they're going to get a coach and the coach is going to tell them exactly what to do and how to do it and everything's going to turn out. And that's
Yeah.
not the case, right? A coach is there as a guide, the definition of a coach is just like the old days, like a stagecoach. They would take one person from this area and move them to the next area. And,
Mm-hmm.
it was a way to get them from point A to point B. And that's what a coach does. It helps guide the person to where they want to go in life.
Mm-hmm.
So, they need to be willing to do the work for sure. So,
Right.
and that must be where your nickname comes from is you make that very clear that you need to do the work and put in the effort and, uh, not just expect you to do everything. It's, I kind of relate it to if you want to get healthy, right? I can't do the push-ups for you. I can't do the sit-ups for you. You've got to do the work. You've got to work on the internal stuff, and it all starts internally.
Yes.
Is, in my opinion, kind of like what you were saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Self-love, the knowing who you are, and understanding that. So,
Mm-hmm.
so, so tell me a little bit about the type of people that typically come to you. Who are your ideal client that you usually help?
Yeah. Typically, it's always funny. They're like me, like 10 years ago, usually. I find that's generally with most entrepreneurs and businesses and coaches and stuff like that. They're usually like 10 or 5 steps behind you, sort of thing.
Sure. Yeah. True.
So generally, they're on the right path, but there's usually something missing or they're just not sure. Right now, with the world and everything going on, it's either something to do with like manifesting or love, relationships.
Yeah.
Those two things that are always very prevalent in most people. I'm finding it's kind of a trend.
Yeah.
More so.
So let's talk a little bit about that. That's a good thing to bring up. Manifesting. There's a lot of talk about manifesting. I've heard that a lot lately,
Right.
and I think there's a lot of stigma around that as well, right? Like if I just think it and believe it, it's going to come to me.
Yeah.
And that's part of it, but it's not all of it, right?
Right. So
You,
true.
you've got to put some effort in. My wife and I are, and I've people are probably getting tired of hearing this because the last couple interviews I've done, I've mentioned this, but my wife and I are doing a deep dive into Think and Grow Rich.
Nice.
And which is kind of like the standard for self-help, right? It's kind of like the basis for so much of self-help has come from. But we're really, and we've read it before, but we're like, let's really dig in deep and go through this. And so we have a copy of the book, we put on the audio, we follow along in the book, and then we read a chapter or go through a chapter, and then we have a workbook that we also go through, and we do all this stuff, all
Perfect.
the right, answer questions. We, whatever the chapter is, whether it's what's your desire, map out your desire, how much money do you want, when you plan to get it, all that, all the steps that he outlines in the book, we do all that. And it's interesting that so many people think that if I just think it, it's going to happen. But a part of that in Think and Grow Rich is then you have to come up with a plan. And yes, you don't necessarily need to know the whole plan, but you need to take action. And, he calls it intelligence will come to you of what you need to do next as you start taking action toward your plan. Right.
Yes.
And so, and I'd love to hear your take on manifesting, because I believe that a part of manifesting is you put it out what you want, and then you take action to start working on it. And maybe it's not the exact action that will get you where you want to go, but it's action that will then give you more clarity on what you need to do next. Right.
Totally. I like that. That's a great way to look at it. So yeah, it's interesting because I'm hosting a men's spiritual and body workshop this week, and we were talking about yesterday was our second day, and I was talking to them about manifesting because I gave them homework to manifest, and they were all very struggling with it because, again, which is a society that we've created as a results society. We all want results and an instant gratification, and when it doesn't happen, then we're just instantly like, oh, that doesn't work, or you know what I mean?
Right.
Like that. So they're like, well, it's fun. They're finding it very hard because, you know, they've tried things before, like you said, but then they don't get the results they want, right?
Right.
But there's so many other different factors that go into manifesting, right? I truly believe, because you know my background and what I believe in with energy and whatnot, that in order to receive what you want, you need to give, right?
Yep.
So you could say, like, what's that traditional book, The Secret?
Yep.
Maybe you've read that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of like, most people have heard of that one, so I always mention that, or like the law of attraction or whatever.
Right.
So, but there's all these other factors that go into receiving as well, because you have all these different chakras, like different chakras in your system. A lot of them can be blocked, they can be unaligned. You need to, there's all these different chakras. And if they're not all balanced and perfect, then you're not going to be able to manifest and receive anything in your life that you want. So, recognizing and being consciously aware of that and working through those things maybe help people, and maybe the key in what's holding them back from actually manifesting the things in their life that they want. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
the people that you're working with, the men, it's interesting that you are doing an all men's group, because
Yeah.
typically men don't really, I get, how can I put this now? They don't buy into it as much as women, I think. There's obviously men out there. I believe that you can manifest what you put your mind and focus into. And then of course take action, like I was saying.
Yeah.
But that's really interesting that you have a group of men that you're helping work through that process. And what has been, besides them kind of feeling like, I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing wrong here, but what's been their kind of response to it? I'm curious.
Like, oh, well, I kind of explained that. Like, they're just like, well, I don't know if it's going to work because they've tried it before. Like, they're doubting it, right? I'm like, well, that right there, then it's not going to work, right?
Mm.
If you're doubting it, then that's what's going to happen. It's not going to work. So, and like I said, it's consistency with all these things, right? Any sort of stuff. The more you do it, the more it's going to actually happen. The more you're reprogramming your brain, right? Your brain likes to live in the past. It's going to constantly have those thoughts. So the more consistent you are with the thoughts that you want to manifest in your life, then they'll actually be able to happen. But if you're constantly doubting yourself and you're not trusting it, then it's probably not going to happen, right?
True. Yeah, absolutely. And that doubt, again, kind of taking it back to Think and Grow Rich, is there's a whole chapter on faith. Having that faith that what your plan and your desire and all those things that you are putting out there, and you know, you can, people have different takes on, you know, do I put it out in the universe? Do I put it out to the ether? Do I put it out to God? Whatever, right? I believe it. I put it out to God, but everybody's take is a little bit different on that end. But you still have to have faith in it. And if you don't have, like you said, if you don't have faith that it's going to work, then you're never going to get what you want, right? Maybe there's a small chance that something will fall in, but into your lap, but typically not.
Right.
And that's where, you know, Napoleon Hill's big thing is, that's why most people live in poverty or they're not where they want to be in life, is because they don't have the faith that they're capable or worthy. And I think that comes back to the love, self-love thing, having what they want in life. And so let's kind of shift a little bit to that, because I do believe that they go hand in hand. But you know, that self-love, or feeling like you're worthy of having the things that you want or that you want to manifest, is a big part of it as well, right?
Yes, 100%. It all goes hand in hand.
Yeah. I think that there's so many people out there who feel like they're not worthy of a life. And a lot of it comes from how we were programmed, again, conditioned when we were young, our parents or society in general, school. I think school has a big factor in that.
Yeah.
And how we're kind of programmed to just be like, well, this is how life is. How oftentimes do we hear all these little cliches of, well, money doesn't grow on trees, or that's just how life is, or, all these things, all these dumb things that we hear all the time. And they really are dumb, right? Like,
Yeah.
just changing, changing those perspectives and the thought process that, I don't know what the percentage is, but I would say 90% of the human population probably has is it's hard. Like, we're bombarded all the time by it.
Seriously though. It's true.
Yeah. I mean, because like everywhere, like school, TV, social media, it's everywhere. Our friends, our family, our parents are, everywhere. And so obviously you have felt some of that in your life from your story, and you were able to break free from it. What would you say was the biggest factor in being able to break free from that?
Working on myself.
Yeah.
Constantly, daily, all the time.
Good. And that's
Yeah.
good. I think people think that, well, I did the work and now I'm done. And you're right. It's not
Never ending.
it is ending. And I heard a quote a while ago saying that the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement. And
Yeah.
it's true. Like, it is a continuous thing, and
I
it's
like that.
always there.
Mm.
So tell me a little bit more about your coaching, I guess. You work with men, obviously. I would assume you work with women. Most women love working with other women, especially when it comes to love and feeling worthy, and especially like manifesting and things like that. That's a pretty big area. But what else is kind of like the main things that you help people work through when you're coaching them?
Going back to more like the practical things, because again, people want the physical results,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
So cooking, food, I love cooking. I'm an expert. I like to call my queen of healthy substitutes. I got a healthy substitute for everything. I actually have a digital cookbook that I created
Wow.
as well. That's really helpful as well, but it has no recipes. So you kind of like build your own meals. Hard to explain, but it's cool because it inspires people to be able to cook healthy, delicious meals without it feeling time consuming or having to buy all these specific ingredients. And really always coming back to helping people. Always the main thing is listen to yourself and trust yourself and your intuition, because always people are listening to all these external things around them and they're not listening to themselves. So when they wanting to, let's say, like, everyone wants to lose weight.
Yep.
Let's be real here. It's always a thing. Coaching people through using your intuition to eat. I don't believe in meal plans, counting macros, my fitness pal, diets, keto, Weight Watchers, all that stuff. You don't need it. And your body knows what it needs to reach optimal health. Your body doesn't want to be unhealthy. Your body wants to feel good every day, right?
Right.
So being able to lean in and trust your body that it knows what it needs to feel good every day, and reminding these people that and leaning into that. And they're like, oh, you're right. Like my one client, she was so focused that she thought she needed enough protein in her diet, right, to gain muscle and lean out, that she was eating a lot of meat every day. But she doesn't even like meat. She hates the flavor of it. She was just eating it because she thought she needed it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you do not need meat in order to get enough protein in your diet. You do not. Like, absolutely not. And she's like, oh, like, I actually really just like eating vegetarian, like vegan. So she started just listening to her body and just eating what she actually wanted to eat.
Wow.
And she feels so much better. And she reached all of her goals.
Awesome.
Again, she was just listening to the noise around her and not listening to her own self. It's a tricky one.
It is tricky. And I think you bring up a point that, at least that's sticking out of my brain, is that everybody's different. And there's all these, like you said, diets, the keto and the paleo or whatever. I don't even know what they all are.
Yeah.
But and there's a new one like every month, right? A new big diet that's going to change the world and take
Uh-huh.
the industry by storm, and
Yeah.
you just have to get on it because it's what's going to change your life. And some of those diets do change people's lives. I know people that have done very
Yeah.
well with the keto diet or paleo, or um, my in-laws are like the perfect example of doing the rubber band diets all the time. Like, they go on a diet, they lose a bunch of weight, and then they get off the diet and they gain it all back. And
Oh, yeah.
uh,
They're not sustainable. That's the issue with all these things.
yeah, and so I love the fact that you're promoting. Just listen to yourself, listen to your body. Your body does know, and when you can connect the body and mind and spirit in there as well,
Hmm.
and you can be in tune to what you want or what the body wants and what you need. So I love that you're teaching that, because so many health coaches or health professions are just like, this is what you need to do. Take these supplements, stay on this diet, do this, do this, do this. And everybody's different. Like,
Right? We're all made completely different. No one has the same chemical makeup, chemistry, whatever you want to call it. So it doesn't make any sense. And I always say that. I'm like, think about it logically, you guys. Does it make sense that your friend's on keto and you should be on keto too, but you guys are made completely different? It doesn't make any sense. And I don't even want to talk about keto, but it's just gets grinds my gears because it's just so unhealthy for you. But it's just a trend. And I always say that the health industry isn't looking out for your health. They just want to make money off of you. It's all profit, profit, profit. They don't care about your health. Like, come on. It's all money to them.
yeah,
Like, always.
sure. And because you brought that up, I want to pick your brain a little bit, because you did mention earlier, a little bit about Western medicine.
Mm,
And you've studied a lot of more Eastern holistic medicine that helps people be overall healthy. And Western medicine is not focused on, how can I put this? It's mostly a band-aid for masking the issues that
yes.
you're really having, right? It's not creating, and I realize that there's good doctors out there, and there are things that people need. And we live in an age where there's so much medical breakthroughs that have happened, but I think there's a lot that people just, you know, they just they just take the doctor's word for it. Like, okay, well, the doctor said to do this, so I'm going to do it. And
Yeah.
it probably could be something that they don't even need, or it's not the right diagnosis, or because the doctor usually is going to take whatever your signs you're showing. They're going to say, well, you fall in the 90 percentile range of what it probably is. So I'm going to give you this medication to help it. Right. That's just the fact of the matter. Like, that's what they do. And you could
Yes.
be that 10% that is something different, right? So, and I like the fact that there's better options out there, especially when it comes to the Eastern medicine. In the United States, I'm going to go to the doctor, I'm going to get a pill, I'm going to take it, and I'm going to be healed, right? I'm going to feel better.
Hmm.
But let's focus more on preventing the problems instead of trying to just mask the issues when they come up, right? That's
Yeah.
and I think a lot of it comes down to just everybody's different, and it's hard to, you know, say that one medical diagnosis is going to fit everybody. So um,
Hmm.
I don't know what your takes are on that. I'm assuming you
Oh,
have a
yeah.
similar uh, issue with the Western medicine culture that we have in the United States, but
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It's so bad. Well, I'm in Canada, but it's like the same
okay,
thing here.
yeah. And it
Um,
is so much money driven, right? Like, um,
they
let
make profit when you fill your prescription.
yeah,
Like that's the worst part about it. Like,
yeah. It's so money driven, and
mhm.
a lot of these doctors will prescribe something because a pharmaceutical came in and said, "Hey, if you give this medication to your patients, we'll give you a little kickback or whatever." And so, is it the best thing for that client or that patient could be, probably not. They're,
Yeah.
they're making a little money off of it on top of what you're paying them as well. I mean, Canada is a little bit different than the United States, right? Because
Yeah.
different form of medical care up there. But, it's still, there's so much of this, I guess, backdoor deals and things that are going on. And it's kind of disheartening to think of, people, if they could figure out how to be healthier up front, prevent all the issues, then I think we'd be in a lot better shape as a society in the world. So, I've loved our chat. I think that you have had some great insights and things that we've talked about. I want people to know how they can reach out to you if they want to know more about your coaching, especially the whole holistic manifesting self-love part of it that we've talked about. I'm sure there's much more that is involved in that, right? You said you had multiple partners, but if people want to get a hold of you and know more about your coaching, where can they reach out to you at?
My website. So it's coachkarlee.com.
Awesome.
And I also have a beautiful Facebook community that I have been running for a couple months now, and it's growing. And I always want people to join, of course, so I can support them without, having to have the price tag, right? So so I do live trainings every week inside of there, and it's really magical. I love it. I like my little community.
That's great. Yeah. So those who are listening, if you want to know more about Karlee and what she does as a coach, you can go to her website or join her Facebook group. And those links will be below the description of this, in the description of this podcast or YouTube, depending on where you're watching or listening to it, so that you can go and connect with Karlee and find out more about what she does in her holistic coaching. So, Karlee, I appreciate you being on the show. I always like to kind of wrap things up by asking this question, and that is, if there's 1 to 3 things that someone needs to do to unleash the greatness within themselves, what would that be?
I bet you know what I'm going to say now. We've talked about it the whole time. Work on yourself every day, you guys. Personal growth, self-love. Do the inner healing, the work that needs to be done, and trust your intuition. That you hold all the answers and keys inside of you, because you do.
Yeah, very cool. That's a great summary of what we've been talking about. And yes, we've talked about it, but repetition hopefully will get people to be like, I need to do that. I need to do some self-work and some self-healing. It all starts from the inside, right?
Right.
As you work on the inside, everything around you gets better. So in our company, my wife and I's company, we have a tagline that's be better, do better. So as you be better inside, everything around you goes better, and you can do better in the world. So it's so true. So thank you for those words that you just shared. And for those who are listening or watching, please reach out to Karlee Welder and get in contact with her. Again, those links will be below this video, and you can reach out to her, learn more about her coaching. And she's quite the fun, energetic coach, and she's not going to take any of your crap. So
that's right. I can't remember too, Adam, if I gave you a link, but I do offer free 30-minute health check-ins as well. I think I might have given you that link.
Yep, I do.
Just so everybody knows.
Awesome. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for mentioning that. So go and book a free 30-minute chat with Karlee and see what she can help you break through and where you can maybe use her expertise in your life. So that's great. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah. And thank you again so much. I appreciate you being on the show. It's been a great conversation. I've had a lot of fun chatting with you. So Karlee, it's been a pleasure.
Me too. That was fun. Thank you. I appreciate being on the show. That was nice. It's awesome. Great.
And for those listening, please reach out to Karlee and go out there, live your life to the fullest, be amazing, and start to unleash your greatness today.